Good morning, Cornerstone kids. I am so excited that I get to join you guys in your house today. It's really sad that we can't be together, but we're still gonna have an amazing time. So I'm sure you've all figured out by now that this term our theme is victory through Jesus. And because of the incredible things that Jesus has done and this amazing love that he has for us, he has given us his victory. When Jesus died on the cross, he defeated sin and death, and he had victory, and he's given us that victory. Jesus had victory over temptation, and now we can also have victory over temptation. And so today, we're going to learn all about having victory over fear. So I wanted to know, and you guys sent me some videos about some of the stuff that you're afraid of.
Of darkness. I had to go to hospital and I had my polygam drops and it was really sore.
Frogs and snails, and of getting COVID-19 and family and friends get it.
Of a very bad dream that I had.
I once felt afraid when the electricity went off and I heard a scary noise.
I'm afraid of not doing my homework.
I'm afraid of being dogs that bite. One day I was afraid I was going to fall off my bike. Once when it was the Leicester Road concert, I walked up on the stage and then I had to dance in front of everyone with my friends, and I was afraid.
Once felt afraid when we were making our big move to England.
On holiday, when we were walking back, we heard the baboons make a loud noise and I got nervous.
I'm afraid of being left alone.
So a whole bunch of you guys said that you're afraid of the dark, or you're afraid of scary animals, or you're afraid of the coronavirus. And I'll be honest, I've been a little freaked out as well. We all really don't know what's going on, and when are we going to see our friends again? When are we going to see our family? Is everybody okay? But you know what's really incredible? Is Jesus is always with us. And because he is always with us, we can have this confidence, this sureness in our deepest parts that no matter what happens, he's going to take care of us. He's going to help us through everything. So I've got a really cool story for you guys. But I know a lot of you already know this story, so I had to be quite clever about how I tell it. So I'm going to be quite sneaky, and I'm not going to tell you any of the characters' names. And maybe you guys and your families can have a race to try and figure out who they are. A long time ago, before Jesus was even born, there lived an Israelite man, and he had 8 sons. His oldest son was Eliab. I'll give you a little clue. That's him right there. Eliab was very strong, very tall, and very handsome. And often, everybody would forget about his youngest brother. But I'm getting ahead of myself. At this time, the Israelites went to war against the Philistines. The Israelites were God's chosen people, and they were known to all the towns and villages as the people who served the one and true living God. They had already been on the battlefield for 40 days, but nothing had happened. Why? Because the Philistines had a soldier they called the champion. He wasn't like any other soldier you've ever seen. He was very, very tall. 3 meters tall to be exact. And all the other Israelite soldiers were terrified, and they would hide in their tents. Every morning, this champion would come out and shout at them. And as he did, the ground would shake. And he would say, "Send one of your men to come and fight me. If he kills me, then we will be your slaves. But if I kill him, then you will be our slaves." One day, Eliab's father sent his youngest son, you know, the little brother they would all forget about. Do you know what his name is yet? Well, Eliab's father sent him to take some food to his brothers, and while he was there, he heard the champion shouting out his threats. He couldn't believe it. Who did this Philistine think he was, defying God's people? Soon enough, Eliab's little brother started asking questions and saying that he wanted to go out and fight this Philistine champion. Eliab and his brothers couldn't believe it. Their little brother had gone completely crazy. He should rather just go home and take care of the sheep. But news spread around the camp about this brave young boy, and the king wanted to meet him. Eliab was hoping that the king would convince his little brother to go home. But his little brother said, "The Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear will rescue me from this Philistine." The king was so surprised by his little brother's confidence that he agreed to let him go and fight the Philistine champion. But the king offered him his sword and his armor. But it was a little bit too big and uncomfortable, so he decided to go with only a sling and 5 little stones. Have you guys figured out who he is yet? As he walked onto the battlefield, the Philistine champion laughed at him. Then Eliab's little brother said something that nobody would ever forget. He stared the champion straight in the eye and said, "You come at me with a sword, but I come to you in the name of the Lord Almighty." Right then, everybody realized that he wasn't crazy. He knew God was on his side. He knew God would help him fight the battle and protect him. He was confident about winning the battle before the fight had even started. Not because he was so great and strong, but because he knew that God was on his side and capable of the impossible. I'm sure by now you guys have figured out that Eliab's little brother is David. David put 1 little stone in his sling and he threw it, hitting Goliath on the head and killing him. God gave David victory over fear that day, and he gave Israel victory over the Philistines. What do you guys do when you're afraid?
I pray to God and I ask Him to take all my fears away, and I trust whatever He does. I'm not scared of the dark, it's just because Jesus is above me.
I pray, I worship God, and I read the Bible.
I pray and I read my Bible, because I always know God will be with me.
I ask my mom or dad to pray for me. When I'm afraid, I pray to Jesus. Sometimes I scream, but then I pray.
When I'm afraid, I cut it in or I pray.
Run to my dad.
Pray and ask Jesus to help me.
I pray to God and He listens to me, and I read the Bible. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and self-control.
Guys, I don't know about you, but if I had walked onto that battlefield and seen the giants, I would have dropped off the food and run back home. But David didn't. David stayed. And not because he had giant muscles or a big sword and he was going to go and fight Goliath. No, David stayed because he knew God was on his side. David had victory over fear because he knew that God was going to help him. He didn't hide in the tents like all the other soldiers did. No, David walked up and said to Goliath, "You don't stand a chance because I've got God on my side." And God gave him victory over Goliath. How incredible is that? And guys, no matter what you're afraid of, anytime you can go to God and you can say, "I'm scared of the dark, or I'm scared of the animals, or I'm scared of the coronavirus. Please help me." And He will give you peace and He will help you to face whatever's in front of you. I love you guys. See you next time. Don't forget to go and check out some really cool activities on Seesaw. Bye.